Okay, let's get down to business. Let's start writing our first ever Python program. I'm going to start by opening idle. You can go to the start menu and type in idle and hit enter. And here is idle, and I'm going to go file, new window, and this is where I'm going to be putting all of my code. So I'm going to first save this file. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to save it right on my desktop, and I'm going to call this printing Python. And remember the .py. Hit save. Now, just as a matter of comment, I suggest one way that might be helpful for you to learn is to kind of do the steps as I go along. Do them on your own. Make sure you can do them as well. It's good practice. Okay, so I've got my programming window over here on this side. And first thing I want to do is show you how to write a comment. Now, a comment is a part of the program that the computer will not read. Okay, the computer won't do this stuff. It's just for the programmers to read. And there are two kinds of comments. The first kind of comment is called a single line comment. And that's just a comment that goes on one line. And we use the hashtag for that. So if we go hashtag, this is my first program. When I run this program, the computer, when it sees this hashtag, it's going to skip this line. It's not going to bother reading it. Okay, but let's say that there is a bunch of different lines that I want to type in here, and I don't want to have to write hashtag every time. This is my first program. I hope you like it, etc., etc., etc. I don't want to have a hashtag every single time. There's a different way we can do that. Okay, so as soon as I take those hashtags out, you can see that this text turns back to black. And you can see there's some orange here too, but it's not red, meaning it's not commented out. Okay, a different way we can comment then is called a multi-line comment. And the way you start a multi-line comment, or a real nice way, would be either single quotes, and we'll have 3 single quotes, or we can have 3 double quotes. Because I have to hold down the shift key for the double quotes, I'm going to be using single quotes because it's just a lot easier. And anything that I type after those first 3 single quotes, you can see it's all green. It's all commented out. Now, as soon as I end those triple quotes, so I'll have another one here, this means it's going to stop thinking this is a comment, and now the computer is going to start reading this and executing this code. Now, of course, this text doesn't make any sense. This code doesn't make any sense. And if I try to run it, I would just get an error. So why do we have comments? What's the purpose of comments? Well, the purpose of comments, first of all, can be to tell you what the purpose of your program is. It's a real nice way to say right at the start, before you do any coding, the purpose of this program is to, so let's do that for this one. This is my first program using the print statement. And I'm going to show you how to use the print statement. Another reason that we have comments is it can give us other information about the program. So for example, the author. My name is Mr. Pollock. So Mr. Pollock wrote it. Today is August 28th, 2017. So I'm going to throw in those 3 quotes to make sure that all of this is commented out and the computer is not going to read this information. Another reason that we use comments is to explain our code. Now, this is going to kind of feel a little pointless when we're just using very small programs, but when we write longer programs, let's say a 400-line program, well, you want some comments in there so that you can remember what the purpose of different functions are or things like that. And last but not least, another really good reason to use comments is, let's say there's a large block of code that I don't want to just delete, I want to just try skipping over it for a moment. Well, we can just comment that out very easily, so the computer will just skip that when it's executing the program. One thing that I'd like you to get into the habit of doing is, at the start of every program that you write the assignment title, your name, and the date. So instead of calling this is my first program using the print statement, I will call this lesson 1. So this is 1.1, and this is comments and print. That will just be really helpful for me if you're able to do that, because when I have some files open, I can very quickly look at the top of the file and say, oh yeah, this is so-and-so's file, and it's just a lot easier for me to mark that way. So here we go with our first print statement. There are different things that we can print to the screen, and it's actually very easy. So you just type in the word print, and you can see it's turned this kind of purpley color. Print, a bracket, and then a quotation mark, and what do we want to print to the screen? Let's have the computer print, hello world. And we finish it off with a quote and another bracket. We can hit enter, and let's run this program. I really suggest that you learn the shortcuts to this program. One way we can run our program is clicking on run and then run module. You can see it says press F5 to do the same thing. So let's do that instead. I'm just going to press F5, and it's going to prompt me to save the file. It's going to say you have to save it before it can run, and just click OK. And over here we can see that our program ran, and it says hello world right here. We got the computer to talk. The computer is saying hello to the world. There are other things that we can print as well. We can print numbers. Again, we're going to use the print statement. So we'll say print the number 6, for example. And if we run our program again by pressing F5, we modified this program, so it's going to ask us to save again. We're going to hit enter to hit OK. And again, it's going to say hello world, because that's what the code is right here. And then it's going to print out the number 6, because we said print 6. So these are two different things that the computer is printing. The first one that it's printing is text. Okay, that green stuff is called text. And then the other thing that it's printing is a number value. And I can show you that we can also figure out what type of thing is being printed. So if we type the word type and then put a bracket, and we're going to put this hello world into brackets. So we're going to print the type that hello world is. So hello world is a certain type of thing to print to the screen. And let's also print the type that 6 is. So we're also going to print to the screen what 6 is. And when we run our program, it's going to again prompt us to save, and we're going to hit OK. And you can see that it has these two classes. So this first thing right here, this text, is called str, which is short for string. Text in programming languages is referred to as string. And type 6 is int, which is short for integer. You know that the number 6 is just an integer. It's a kind of number. So we're able to print to the screen what type of thing we're hoping to print to the screen. Okay, what if we want to print multiple things to the screen? Well, I'm going to get rid of this. And let's say we want to print two different things to the screen. Let's say we're going to print hello Joe, for example. Well, we can just run that. That's fine. It says hello Joe. Now let's say we wanted to print two separate strings though. Hello, comma, and Joe. Let's see what happens when we do that. We're going to press F5 to run it again. See how there's a space right here? That's because we're printing this string, and then there's a separation, and then the next string. So you can print multiple strings in a row. And it's not just limited to 2. Hello, Joe, dude, for example. If we run it again, hello, Joe, dude. Now what happens if we change these commas into plus signs? Well, let's try it. Let's run the program again. You can see it says hello Joe dude without any spaces, and this is called concatenation. You're putting strings just right together, right one after the other. So commas will leave spaces in between strings, and pluses will put the strings right one after the other. Now what happens if we want to print a string like, for example, hello Mr. Pollock, but we want to have the Mr. Pollock on the next line? Well, we can do that in two separate print statements, or we can have an escape character, which is /n. Now when we go to run this, the computer is going to read this /n as go to the next line before you keep printing. So let's run it and see what happens. And you can see it says, hello, Mr. Pollock, on the second line. I'm going to close this so the next time when we open it up, it'll be back up at the top. Now there are other special characters that we can put in there. /n goes to a new line. /t does something different. You can see /t puts a tab in there. /a does something different as well, so we can run that. /a puts a little box. Depending on your font, you might get a little bullet there. But what if we wanted to actually print Mr. Pollock in quotation marks? Well, we're going to use a /quotation mark so that the computer knows that quotation mark doesn't mean stop my string. That quotation mark actually needs to be printed in there as well. So if we want to print quotation mark before Mr. Pollock and after Mr. Pollock, we have to go /quotation mark so that it thinks that the quotation mark actually needs to be printed. And if we run it, you can see it says hello Mr. Pollock with those quotation marks. Now remember when we had the separation of two strings, so for example hello comma Mr. Pollock, and when we print that to the screen, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a space in between those strings, and I'll run it just to prove it to you. See, it says hello space Mr. Pollock. Well, if we put a comma after this, we can also change how those strings are separated. So we can say the separation, or sep, equals what do we want to be in between those strings? Well, we can have an underscore in between those two strings. And if we run it again, you can see that these two strings are separated by an underscore. And you can put whatever character you want in between the strings. It could be 3 equal signs, for example. See, hello equal Mr. Pollock. Another thing we can do is end. If we put end equals, I don't know, a 0, then when we go to run it, that's what it's going to print at the end of the line. Now another thing that we can do is we can print something repeatedly. Let's say we wanted to print the word hello 5 times, but we were too lazy to type out the word hello 5 times. What we can do is put a little star, which means times or multiply. So let's print hello times 5. And this will print hello to the screen 5 times for us. And I'm just going to close this over here so that we're restarted back up at the top. And we'll press F5 to run it. You can see it says hello, 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 hello. And the last thing I want to show you about printing is inserting things into a string that we're printing. So for example, I can say that Shiloh is 2 and Isaiah is 3. And I can print that to the screen. That would be all lovely. But let's say, for example, I don't know for sure that this is always going to be 2 and that's always going to be a 3. And I want a different place to change those numbers. So we can insert different things into there. And I'll show you how to do that. We're going to take that 2 out and we're going to put %s. And we're going to take this 3 out and we're going to put %s. Now after this last quotation mark, I'm going to put % and then a bracket and a 2, 3 bracket. So what this is going to do is this %s says, oh, go look over here. What's the first thing that you see over here after the %? Oh, a 2? Let's pretend that that 2 is over here. We're going to take this 2 and go pop it into this place. Oh, here's a %s right here again. Well, let's look for the next thing that's over in this list. It goes to the % and says, okay, the second thing is a 3. We're going to pop a 3 in here. And so when we go to run this file now, press F5, it says Shiloh is 2 and Isaiah is 3. Now I can change this 2 to a 10, for example, and run it again. Shiloh is 10 and Isaiah is 3. I can change this 10 to the word nice, and I can run it again. Shiloh is nice and Isaiah is 3. It's just taking the first thing it sees and pops it right into this spot. So hopefully that wasn't too overwhelming for your very first programming lesson. Again, remember, just stick with it. Try things out, ask your friends for help if you get stuck, rewatch the video, you can search online if you'd like, and have fun with the first assignment.